If you want to talk, then let's talk balls.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode, and today is the 2020 NFL Draft Spectacular. Yes, I will be talking about who the Philadelphia Eagles should select in the 2020 NFL Draft, the only draft that is completely online, so let's get started. The Philadelphia Eagles made a couple moves getting defensive players in the offseason. They signed Slay, they signed Jalen Mills to a safety contract for a one-year deal, they let Malcolm walk, they signed a bunch of other defensive guys, so that makes you think they're probably going to go after some wide receiver talent in this draft, which is so loaded with so many talented wide receivers. But do we trust the Philadelphia Eagles to draft a good wide receiver looking back at their history? Going back to the 2014 draft, we selected wide receiver Jordan Matthews in the second round, and we selected wide receiver Josh Huff in the third round, both of whom are not on the team anymore. Matthews still might be on the team. I don't think he is, though. We signed him last year. Just to come back when we got depleted at wide receiver because of all of our injuries, and then we had to have the guy who was a quarterback in college be our star receiver for a little while there. But those are just two guys from 2014, only 6 years ago, who if we drafted a good wide receiver, they should still be on the team, or we should have been able to get a lot of good talent for them. In 2015, the Philadelphia Eagles, with their first round pick in the 20th overall, selected Nelson Agholor. And look where he's at now. I believe he's on the Raiders, but he was just a nightmare to deal with. He was such a bust, in my opinion, and no one really liked him. He had that one good year, but besides that, he didn't do much for us. He just dropped a lot of balls, and yet we continued to pay him way more than we should have. So that's a similar pick to what we have this year. We have the 21st overall pick in the 2020 draft. So it's sort of like history's kind of repeating itself, but I guess we'll see if the Eagles can prove that that was just a one-time mistake. In the 2017 draft, we selected Mack Hollins and Shelton Gibson, both who didn't do too much for us. Again, those were in later rounds, so we didn't prioritize a wide receiver to try to get early on because we thought Nelson was the answer, but he wasn't. But those are just two guys that never worked out to be anything much. Both, I think Shelton Gibson might still be on the team or the practice squad. I'm not sure about Mack Hollins. None of them are significant enough to even really remember if they're still on the team or not. So that's just another year where we wasted picks on wide receiver. And so we move on to the 2019 NFL Draft. This one sits in a bad place in my stomach because in the second round with the 57th overall pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select wide receiver J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay, it's not that bad. Who else was in that draft? Well, do you know who went last in the second round with the 64th overall pick? DK Metcalf. Yes, if you don't know about him, look him up. He had a breakout year last year for the Seattle Seahawks. He's just this beast of a wide receiver. This guy he moves really fast, but he's like really big guy. Could be a tight end, and the fact that the Eagles missed out on him, it hurts. Honestly, it doesn't make sense that these guys are missing out on these wide receivers because you pay people, your scouts and whatnot, to go out there and spot out who's going to be a breakout wide receiver. And yes, it's hard, but I mean, so many teams missed out on him, and the guy was such a good wide receiver for the Seahawks, and he's proving that he is going to be around in this league for a very long time. And the fact that we could have drafted him over J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, it hurts, man. It hurts. It's not a good feeling. It goes to show how good are your scouts because like everyone else I've listed in the past drafts, there was not one that was a really breakout star for us. And in the 2016 and 2018 drafts, we did not draft a wide receiver. That's why I left those ones out. But with the pick before ours in the 56th pick, I believe, the Chiefs, I think it was, selected McCole Hardman, and that's another good wide receiver. So, I mean, if we traded up for one spot, we could have had McCole Hardman, or if we would have just known what we were doing, we could have had DK Metcalf instead of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Now, don't get me wrong. That was only 1 year for J.J., and I know he sort of wasn't what everyone thought he was going to be, but this season he could still show that he is a very talented wide receiver. He could have a breakout year this year. I know we're all hoping for him and rooting for him, but he needs to have a good year this year to prove that he wasn't a bust in this draft. All right, so the big question is, should the Philadelphia Eagles draft a wide receiver in this draft? I mean, if you look at our receiving core before the draft heading into the 2020 season, we have Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, Greg Ward, and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Now, yes, it's easy to sit here and say those guys are not the best receivers out there, and yes, we do need to draft a receiver, but do you trust the Philadelphia Eagles to draft a good receiver, proving that they haven't been able to do so in the past? But then on the other side, this is such a heavy draft class with so many talented wide receivers that it's going to be sort of hard to miss out on a good one, you know? So, I mean, it's just a tough question. You guys let me know down in the comments below. Do you want to see the Eagles draft a wide receiver? Do you think they should trade up and get a top-tier elite wide receiver? Or do you think they should just pick one at their current position, which is 21st overall? Let me know down in the comments below. If you want to catch up on our social media, you can follow us on Twitter at letstalk_balls. You can follow us on Instagram at Let's Talk Balls Pod. And you can follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Balls Pod. And if you did not know, we do a podcast called Let's Talk Balls, available anywhere where you find your podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts, Apple iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Spreaker, everywhere. If you listen to a podcast on a certain platform, I guarantee you we are on there. So go ahead and give that a listen. And again, let me know down in the comments below, what do you think the Eagles should do with this upcoming draft? In my opinion, I think we need to trade to move up to get a top-tier elite receiver to really help out Carson Wentz this next season, and so all of the haters can just finally shut up once we get him a good, talented wide receiver. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a nice day.
If you want to talk, then let's talk balls.